One of the most popular questions we get at StoreHero is people wanting to understand how much they can afford to spend to acquire customers, but do so profitably. And our LTV report within the StoreHero dashboard answers this question. So what I want to do is walk through three scenarios here to maybe figure out which bucket are you in and ultimately what are the sort of actions you should take in order to improve your performance for 2025. So before I dive in, just to give some context on this, over the last couple of years, it's, with cheaper customer acquisition costs, cheaper availability of capital, brands traditionally didn't need to be as dialed in on their numbers in order to grow. And that's no longer the case anymore. It's moved from a grow at all cost mentality to a get profitable or die mentality. And we can't ultimately afford to lose money on customers for as long as maybe we were willing to do before. And really, this is the question we want to answer with different scenarios as part of our cohort report. So ultimately here, the key question we want to figure out here is, okay, what point do we actually recoup our customer acquisition cost and start to generate profit from each individual customer? And then from there, using that information, again, what are the decisions I should make from here? So let's take a look at this first example of a brand that is first order profitable. You can see here, we can see grouped by the month that those customers were acquired, the number of each of those customers acquired, the customer acquisition cost. So in this case, March 2024, acquired 824 new customers, a €16 customer acquisition cost. And since last March, recording this in March 2025, 18% of our customers have come back. So again, all things considered, not a massive amount of repeat percentage or repeat potential in the business as it stands currently. Now from here, we can see if we're looking at a gross profit accumulated by customer, we can see like a mini timeline on what those 824 customers did over time, over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months running up our screen. So in this case, we generated €25 of gross profit on that first time customer order. In the first month, that rose incrementally. By 2 months, it was up to €27. And by month 6, it was up to €29. So therefore, what that's telling us there is if we want to be profitable on order 1, we can afford to spend 25. But if we're willing to be, patient and wait for those repeat orders, we can wait and up maybe till month 6 and be willing to spend €29, or maybe up to even month 11 and be willing to spend €32. Now, oftentimes what's important here is understand, okay, based on your business model, how likely are those repeat customers and how often will you see additional profit as well as revenue over time? In this case, we can actually turn on our customer acquisition cost payback period and see, okay, well, this business is consistently first order profitable, bar 1 month in this case. From here, the customer acquisition cost was 16, €25 of profit. Therefore, I'm not necessarily waiting to acquire that customer. Now, in this particular case, that was actually worthwhile because we're only seeing an incremental level of additional profit. Most of my profit is generated on the first order, and we're not seeing a large amount of people come back. So with that in mind, again, it might suit the business model. Make sure we're making decisions with that in mind. Here, we want to make sure we capture our profit first and foremost. From here, let's look at another example of a subscription business. So in this particular example, we can see they sell subscription kind of gym supplements. So from there, on that basis, you can see over time, let's look at June 2024. They've spent £11 to acquire a customer, but since June, 32% of customers have come back, and we generated £25 of profit on the first order. Now, what's really interesting here is we're actually generating more profit over time, and it's rising a lot quicker. And this business is poised to drive us more profit after the first order than within it. So really, realistically, after 8 months, if we're already at 43, we're at 58 by month 11. Potentially, this business doesn't have to be first order profitable because most of their profit can be gained later on. So here, again, this is another alternative scenario in which if we turn on our CAC payback period, we are first order profitable, but we don't necessarily need to be. Finally, I'm going to show an alternate example. These are the situations in which maybe we're not necessarily recouping that profit quick enough. This is a US-based clothing brand, kind of a higher end clothing brand where they're driving kind of a good volume of profit from first order, but it's a very competitive space in which we have to spend quite a lot to acquire a customer. So we can see in this example here, March 2024, we're acquiring 218 customers, a $79 customer acquisition cost, but only on the first order are we generating $39 of profit. So from here, after 1 year, it's only getting to the point where we're getting anywhere near that customer acquisition cost. And if you're waiting, it's like this group of 218 customers have kind of give them a mini loan. They're indebted to us to a certain extent. We're losing money on that order, and we're waiting for them to come back over a series of months in order for us to pay back that loan, the cost our investment we've made in the marketing to them. So in this case, my recommendation would be, okay, ultimately we need to either, number one, pull back on marketing spend, or alternatively, look to try to drive more profit from that customer on the first order within 6 months. So in this case, if we can actually get somebody to spend whatever it is, $79 within 6 months, okay, then we're recouping that cost. So either the cost needs to come down or the lifetime value needs to go up. And again, that's where the CAC to LTV ratio you may have come across before. You may have actually heard about that, and ultimately that's referencing that specific scenario. Either we want to reduce the cost to acquire them or increase the value that we're getting for whatever we're paying. So hope that's a helpful reference point. If that's something you'd love to see for your own brand or your own clients in order to help make marketing driven decisions and spend driven decisions, again, please let us know. We'd be happy to help. Thanks a lot.